Hey, I'm Will. I'm out of Long Beach, California. I've been a heavy-duty mechanic for about 6-7 years, and I've been independent for about a year. And I'm here to give you a truck tour. The Snap-on guy traded this for my arm, so still had to pay $4 grand. Electronic tools, Milwaukee's kicks the shit out of Snap-on. If you have to start out of a Honda Civic, do it. That's gonna be the only way up. I don't regret going independent at all. I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
This truck tour is proudly produced by Tekamo and sponsored by Fortis HD. Whether you like to buy online, call us or message us. We'll help you out.
I guess you should start at the driver's seat. So this is where the magic happens. Not really much to show you right here. This is where I store some of my tools. This is the back seat. I'm gonna have like my go bag right here. This is my most commonly used tools. In here, I have my mountain wrenches, long screwdrivers, Nip-X pliers, ratchets. Ratchets, Snap-on, baby. So yeah, I try to stay off the truck now, but I used to get on that truck fairly often. I got tired of getting rammed in the behind. I also have these expert wrenches. These I use all the time, all kind of hydraulic fittings. I use that, some paint markers, other sorted bullshit. Most of the smaller stuff. I have a Sunex socket kit right in there. That's gonna cover most of my 3/8 drive stuff. I keep my air hose for a compressor that I rarely use. Extension cord. Down here I got some hoisting stuff, some straps, and here's some hydraulic gauges. In the middle I keep my chargers, gloves, disposable rags, some other wrenches and crow's feet right there in the center. Also got my cables, diagnostic cables right there. Anything that's too big to fit inside the back boxes or easy to get stolen, like I can't fit these hoses inside the back boxes, but if I were to just leave it on top, they would just take it. I got this little space, this little nook back here, so I'll keep a couple torque wrenches, or I'll keep pry bars. So I keep my long pry bars right there. I got smaller pry bars too, but those are in the back. Got this guy. The Snap-on guy traded this for my arm, so still had to pay $4 grand. I got a back probe, a load pro in there, but that's about it there. So back here, this is where I got the deck system. Top of the deck system, I got a heavy duty jack, air compressor. This is where my pack out goes. And I got another jack on that side and some jack stands. And then I throw all the junk parts back here too. These are really neat. These rails that come with the deck. I think this one I had to buy. It makes it easier to strap shit down. I got a flow tool in the middle. That's usually where my oil goes. I try not to do big services because obviously I only got 15 gallons of tank right there. So I try not to do that. So I mean, the largest machine I would do is pretty large. When you're doing electrical work and hydraulic work, you could get away with a lot when you're diagnosing stuff or changing out parts or working on engines. But it is a struggle, like finding, places to dump all that oil. So this is inside the deck. It's where I keep 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch sockets, spray paints, brake clean, PB blaster in there. So all my little knickknacks, little crow's feet, lifting links. And these are all my electronic tools. So I got a couple of them, but this is the one I use the most. So this is the 1/2 inch high torque. Electronic tools, I'm really into Milwaukee. Milwaukee's kicks the shit out of Snap-on. Some people don't like when I say that, but it's true. For half the price. I do have a problem with this one. The battery did shake loose, so sometimes I gotta hold that in. Batteries are almost always dead. Anytime I show up to the job site, they're dead. This is where I keep the larger tools, come-alongs, big wrenches, 1/2 inch wrenches, cheater pipes, 3/4 inch easy red. PWZ3, these guys right here, they're amazing. You gotta have this in the truck because anytime it's hard to grip onto something, these help a lot. I've got these guys, John Deere branded wrenches. So just remember that, John Deere, when I was talking shit in the podcast, I do have your wrenches. Hopefully that makes things a little bit better. And I also have more of these back here. Some in here that I kind of don't use. Just little stuff here. Snap ring pliers, small picks. These are really good right here. These are cat branded angle wrenches. Harbor Freight line wrenches. Oil filter drains in there too. And then back here, this is where I keep some of the tools that I use pretty often. These are just adapters for radiators. But these are caps. You always gotta have caps and plugs when you're doing hydraulic work. Not just for capping stuff off and keeping oil in the system, but for diagnostics and keeping clean. Got a snap-on fuel pressure tester, cooling system refiller. There's a cooling system tester back there and some more sockets. That's about it for the back portion.
What made you choose the deck system?
I think I seen it online and I was like, hey, that looks pretty cool, it works. They were pretty big drawers and they were, for the most part, they keep water out, except for this last time it rained. I think this came out somehow. I got water all in the drawer. That was a fucking nightmare. That's why those sockets are all rusted like that. It works for what I'm doing. So when you go on the website, you pick the model and there's gonna be different sizing too for different beds. They have shorter ones too, where this might not be as long, so you could stick like an end pack right here because it was a welder, an air compressor, and a generator all at once, but it was pretty expensive. So I just went with this option. So this is my pack outs. This top one's my most important pack out right here. This is what gets the most work. Crimpers in there, heat shrink connectors, small pliers kit. I got my fluke right here. Little fittings, test line, these magnetic test leads. This is super important. I use these all the time when I have to test across a machine. If you're on a 944K loader, the cab to the engine, you're gonna need one of these. Got some gauges in here. Small extensions, crimpers, strippers, gauges all the time, and I need my fluke all the time, and I need little probes and stuff like that. At least when I'm doing diagnostic work, which is a lot of the work I get. In here, there's some sockets. I'm not really going to open that up because I'm ashamed what you guys will think of me after you see the chaos. There's just sockets thrown everywhere and wrenches. And in here, I keep more power tools. M12 Milwaukee water pump, which I don't use for water, but don't tell them that because that's going to void the warranty. I have, I think, a drill in there, different stuff like that. I use mostly like Snap-on or Blue Point. I started buying Icon. I wanted to check out what they have and I'm pretty impressed. Like just the quality, like you could hold a wrench and pretty much tell, oh, this one's kind of cheap, but it feels real similar to a Snap-on wrench. I don't know how tight or loose the tolerances are on them, but for the most part, they're pretty good. This is my Harbor Freight 30-gallon compressor. Most of the time I'm using electronic tools. It's basically new, but since it's out in the elements, it looks a little more beat up than it actually is. I mean, sometimes I gotta air up some tires or some shit. Air is actually pretty important when you do need it, cleaning stuff out or sometimes testing, but I mean, I rarely. Back here, this is gonna be a test lead kit. It has a lot of pins and shit in there. This is a 3/4 inch Snap-on torque wrench, a borescope. I got a battery tester and a snap-on power probe that I rarely use. Snap ring pliers. I got a puller right here, tap and die set, fuses, scraper kit, and you're gonna see a hard hat back here. You always gotta have your hard hat and vest, just you don't know where you're going. I got this guy too. This is gonna be my depth refractometer. You guys are telling me earlier you guys don't really mess with that, but here you gotta have one of these. Keep my backpack and my laptop and any cables, other diagnostic cables in there. I got a CAT EDL right there. That's about it.
What's the next steps for your business?
I think the goal is to upgrade. This wasn't really the truck that I envisioned, and I was actually real nervous. Like, I love the truck now, and it does what it needs to do. But towards the beginning, when I left off by myself, I was nervous about not having a crane, not having a welder. I didn't have the air compressor in the beginning. It was like, well, what are the customers gonna think when they see me and they see other people with all this big peat rolling down, you know? I kind of said, I don't care anymore, just something that has to get done. So the truck has been good to me. The setup I have now, you know, I could go to most jobs and finish them. No matter what, I just get it done with what I have.
How do you work without a crane?
So there are times when it does get sketchy and you do need a crane, but usually what I'll do is try to use another piece of equipment on site if they have other equipment on site, or I'll have to rent a buddy, use somebody who does have a crane.
And how do you work without a welder?
Usually I don't get asked too much about welding stuff, and if I do, then I go ahead and I'll redirect them to somebody who does welding. That means I have to call somebody else to either help me or call somebody else to give the job away. I mean, that's my job.
How important to you is it to have a support network?
Once you go on by yourself, it's imperative that you have a network, because if you're just by yourself, you're by yourself, and I mean, you could only get so much stuff done.
What kind of advice do you have for any mechanics looking to go out on their own?
Well, I mean, look at me. I mean, the biggest step is just taking that first step and just doing it. A lot of people are going to make excuses. Oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't know that person, and it's going to kill what they want to do. If you have to start out of a Honda Civic, do it. That's going to be the only way up. I don't regret going independent at all. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I'd do it again and again and again.
What advice do you have for new mechanics buying tools?
Some tools, I mean, you could get away, towards the beginning of your career, you could get away with some Harbor Freight tools. Eventually, you are going to want to upgrade to nicer stuff, because you don't want to deal with the braking stuff, and you don't want to deal with, you know, I put chrome sockets on my impact sometimes, not all the time, but I don't want to have to deal with it. And it depends on the tools too. Like, I have line wrenches from Harbor Freight. They don't break, like, and they work really well. Some of the stuff like sockets, they have different tighter tolerances, which is nicer when you're going for really tight bolts. Snap-on ratchets are really nice. You know, I don't have to worry too much about the teeth grinding off. But once you're starting, it doesn't matter too much.
Are you ever worried about theft?
No, we got guns here. I keep something ready in case anything happens.
How do you reassure the customer when first starting out?
Once you're doing work, get the job done, good time, do it right, and they'll see and they'll tell their friends, like, hey, this guy, cabron. You go, you keep doing the same thing, and people are like, okay, this guy does what he does. Because it's either that, or you're gonna have to go grab some knee pads, some strong ones. Once again, guys, thanks for watching. I'm Chocolate Thunder, William.Amelong on Instagram. If you have any questions, let us know. One time I did go get a manicure, and I asked them if I would save money. What kind of shit is this? You're only doing half the work.
A new Tekamo merch coming out. It's actually coming. It's alive and well. If you want to be notified, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube and follow us on all of our social media. If you'd like to film with Tekamo, please reach out, media@TekamoHD.com.